Alright, so I really find myself liking the Sony DualShock 4 that comes with the PS4s, but stock out of the box, you're pretty much going to have to play them like this, eternally connected to a damn battery, because the battery life out of the box really is kind of garbage. And I suffered this with my previous one that I got in 2016, and I ended up selling it off because I got that tired of the really abysmal battery life. So this time, because I wanted one for retro video games, because I like the D-pad is up here, and this can more faithfully emulate a SNES controller with analog sticks and a mappable little PlayStation button here, so you're not running out of buttons to map to emulator functions. Yeah, I really wanted one of these again, battery life be damned. But I decided to look around on the Google this time and figure out, hey, is there something that can probably be done to make this better? And, well, turns out there is. Here I've got the stock battery for the PS4 controller, and this is a little 1000 milliamp hour unit. And it's kind of hollow, doesn't have a lot of weight to it. It's pretty garbage. Like, my controller just sitting on my desk would run out of battery, like, not doing anything, and it's no bueno. So, the mod, you rip this apart and you put a better battery in it. Now, the battery I bought for this is one of those PK cell batteries, 2000 milliamp hours, so double the runtime of this piece of junk. And the ones I bought were, well, the one I bought, because I only bought one, was a pre-made battery, and this is meant for a first-generation DualShock 4. As you can see, the battery connector is a bit bigger on this one. And how you can tell if you've got a first versus second generation is if you turn on your controller, the light comes through the touch pad here, you've got a second-gen controller. But let's kind of go into what goes into this. So, editing Chris may have to do some work. Now, the only problem comes when you're trying to open this for the first time, because this thing can be snapped together and be a real pain in the arse to get open. So, this one's already kind of splayed out because I've been in it before. But I noticed like this part here tends to get a little problematic. But these parts up here can also be problematic. What you want to get is get like a plastic guitar pick and basically just get in here and run it along the seam. And you should pop some clips. Opening tool, because I don't want to screw this up. It sometimes helps give this little part a pinch here. And this part will put up a fight too. And sometimes you just have to wrench it and it'll come. But as you can see, there's the battery. Held in weakly with some double-sided tape, but you can see kind of what I did here. I need to clean this up a little bit at some point in the future, but that'll come at a later time when I actually have the means. Right now, I don't want to mess with it because it's held together crappily, but well. So, the battery tray here, what I ended up doing is I had to file away this part, get it filed flush here, file away the top part here, so this is all flush, because this needs to sit here. And you're probably going to have to file a little bit on these corners here. I know I had to do so to get the wire to come out here. And nothing comes up in here, so you can just tuck the wire, any excess back in there. You're going to have to, if you have a second-gen controller and you're buying them pre-made like this, you're probably going to have to splice the wires onto the stock connector. But yeah, nothing really goes here so much. So actually it kind of does, but you can kind of just finagle the wires around there. There we go. Primo. I'd say that's a pretty good compromise. But if you don't have to worry about shrink tube like I do here, this will go together a lot easier for you. But just barely it'll clear the light bar connector over here. And right here you can see one of the mistakes I made when I was putting it back together. Because not only do you have to modify the battery tray here and also make sure your triggers work before you put it back together, but you need to modify the rear of the controller as well. Because these little clips here, or these little brackets here, will actually hit the battery. So you don't want that, because, let's see, I believe, yeah, this battery would just sit in between the two, but this one's wider, so it's going to just get clipped by them. So to put it back together, you just push the connector back into place. There's no like retention bar or anything. We have the controller in two pieces. I'm just going to go ahead and hit that. Make sure our light bar works. And it does. So the other issue here is make sure you can see the window for the touchpad light bar thingamajig. And you want to make sure that's just tucked in place before you snap it all back together. I believe it goes in right there. And then just put the controller back together. Just go slow, make sure the seams line up as you push it together. If you get any resistance, stop and make sure that, you know, everything is good. This should just mostly go back together with no resistance. There might be a little bit because of the battery size, but it shouldn't be too hard to squeeze it back together. And then at this point, just do one final check. Everything does seem to work. Let's go ahead and turn this back off. And I cannot stress enough that when you're putting these screws back in, be careful. You do not want to strip this. But yeah, this just really kind of sucks. This has to be done because I know the DualShock 3, and no, actually I hear the 6-axis wasn't that good, but the DualShock 3 had legendary battery life, so it really kind of perplexes me that Sony kind of just went this route and cheaped out for the PS4 controllers, even though these things command a humongous premium. So just double check your work. There might be a little, as you can kind of see, this little bit here kind of isn't going to go back together 100% perfectly. You can try and torque down a little bit more. Just be careful when you do it. And we jumped over a little bit on that one, but it's not good. But really, just as long as it feels solid and you don't feel the seams as much when you're holding it. I mean, I can a little bit, but it's not out of spec. I mean, kind of feel on this controller as well to some extent. And one final check, fires right up. So that's how you do the DS4 battery mod. Yeah, it's a pretty good little modification. I've actually used this for a couple days. It's been sitting on my desk. It still has 70% battery on it when I plugged it in the other day to check, and I haven't really used it since. So it does hold, the claims of the battery do hold water. It does work better because I do know on the stock battery I would play for about maybe 4 hours and the thing would be mostly dead. So yeah, definitely a recommended use of your $12. So hopefully you like the video, and I'll see you next time.